Hello and welcome to episode 28 of the Bad Psychics podcast. This is our Ryder Cup episode. You are hopefully watching this right before the Ryder Cup starts this year, being held in the US at Bethpage Black. We are going to be talking through what we expect to see happen and seeing if any of us can get even vaguely close to predicting some of the outcomes. Uh, as always, I'm joined by a couple of idiots. This week, I predict that he's most likely to think that now he's won the green jacket, the only victory Rory still needs is to knock out Patrick Cantlay's Caddie. It's Dizzy. How you doing, Dizzy?
Great.
Good. Excellent. Uh, and speaking of Cantlay, I predict that he would willingly wear a hat, but only if it's red and has four white words emblazoned on it. It's Cheetah.
Thanks, I appreciate it, but the USA is spelled with only three.
I mean, that's why I said words, not letters.
Huh.
Try harder. But yes. So we're going to be covering the whole Ryder Cup procedure today. I mean, Dizzy, you are sort of the most, let's say, casually invested viewer of golf of the three of us. But are you looking forward to the Ryder Cup, and what are you hoping to see?
Yes, well, I wouldn't be on here if I wasn't looking forward to it. But um, I always enjoy the final day with all the singles matches and watching the leaderboard flip flop around. Hopefully, by the time it gets to the final day, it'll be in the balance because obviously in the past that's sometimes not happened and then it becomes a bit of a dud. But it's the same with the Solheim Cup. I enjoy the final day mainly. Yeah.
Okay. Just for anybody watching, Dizzy is not half asleep and not happy to be with us. He's just got cat hair in his eye, and that's why he's been rubbing it through most of his past answer. Jeeta, I mean, you are probably the most invested in golf of the three of us, given you still actively play it. But as our American correspondent, uh, what do you make of the American side? Is there anything missing for you? What do you think of the choice or non-choice of Bradley playing? Just give me a rounded picture of how you're feeling.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting group. Obviously, when you look up and down the team, there's some faces that some faces that those who are more casual of golf won't know. We do have a live representative in Bryson DeChambeau. And I think that, you have a big mix of first timers on the team versus seasoned vets of the US Ryder Cup team, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. There's been some discussion about whether, the old boys club that, ran the Ryder Cup team for the US for the last couple of years was going to be involved this season. And it's been scaled back compared to previous years. But yeah, I think it's an interesting team. Obviously, Keegan had a really hard choice on his hands about whether he was going to play or not. I thought he was going to, but it is very tricky to play and do all of the things that you have to do to be captain. He's going to be going out, checking on all of the matches, seeing how people are playing, because he has to make picks on who's going to play in other sessions that day. And I think that it would have been really hard to be focused fully on competing at the top level and being captain. It's really frustrating because Keegan has been so vocally public about his desire to play in a Ryder Cup, so I feel devastated for his behalf.
Mhm.
that he won't get the opportunity to this year, and I don't know what future Ryder Cups will look like for him. But I'm excited about this team. I think that it's an interesting mix, and I think that there's some players who are on the up and up who might really be able to compete at a course like Bethpage.
The one sort of question I want to follow up on, in terms of rookies for this Ryder Cup, 4 on the American team, only 1 on the European team. How much do you think that does or doesn't matter?
I don't know. It's tricky. I think, when you look at the people who made it in, some of them were automatic qualifiers. Spawn qualified in. I think Henley qualified in. Griffin and Cam Young were picks, and then for Europe, I think the only one is Højgaard, who qualified in.
Yep.
So I think obviously it's, if someone has qualified in, they've earned their place, which it's interesting. This is very different to what a lot of these guys do out on tour. I wish that they'd bring back the match play championship as an event year after year on tour, because match play is really fun. But it will be a test that some of these guys, especially if they're younger on the tour and haven't played much match play, will they be comfortable with the different approaches and the mental changes that you need to make going from stroke play to match play, as opposed to someone who's been there and done that.
Very good. Sorry, did I cut you off then? Was there anything?
No, that was all I had to say.
Okay.
You timed it at the right time.
Perfect. I'm just going to quickly talk about the European team. I think, for me, it's a very, very strong team. I don't think there's too much that you could do to make it stronger. I will say, for me, there's only one person I'd take out, and maybe one other person there's an argument over, but I fully understand. For me, I don't understand why Ram has been picked. I don't think playing on Live has helped his golf, whereas some people, I think it's helped to flourish, as much as I hate to say it. Hatton being one of them, I would say. He's been playing very, very well since switching to Live. Rahm, for me, I think his comparative standard has fallen off a cliff. I think the other one is possibly Victor Hovland. Hovland, for the second half of this season, was in good form. But I always worry with Hovland that he is, you say that some people are one bad tournament away from a complete crushing loss of form. Hovland is always one bad shot away. Just there seems to be something, and he's either on or he's not. I think it's probably right that he was picked. But I would say there's maybe 2 spots tops up for grabs. For me, instead of Rahm, I could make an argument for multiple people. I think Matt Wallace had a really good run in towards the end, just missed out. Thomas Dietrich is somebody I rate very highly, but I understand maybe he's a little raw to get a pick. Aaron Rai, I think his game has really improved, and I already rated him since joining the PGA Tour. And then a slightly more, not random, but I would have considered maybe picking Nikolai Højgaard. He wasn't miles and miles down the rankings, and I just think having a Højgaard pairing, 2 people who know each other's games inside and out, playing together as a pairing, I think could have been really, really interesting and a big threat. But I do also recognise it could have been viewed as a distraction. It's one that could go either way. I think for me, I lose Rahm and I pick Wallace, and I do that ultimately because that would mean the top 12 were all playing, and you can just turn around and say we have our strongest 12, and I think that's more intimidating, even if it's only on a technicality. But that's just my thoughts. Anyway, let us switch to our spreadsheet and a whole, and we can start working through this. Okay, so you will see we're going to start with our predictions for each of the 5 sessions. So first of all, I'd say interesting to comment on this one generally. The home captain gets to choose whether foursomes or four balls are the morning session on for each given round. Traditionally, both teams play to their strengths, and that means usually Europe starts with the foursomes, America starts with the four balls. This time around, Bradley has chosen to put the foursomes first, which is interesting. So let's see if that reflects what we've chosen to happen. And interesting. We've got 2 halves, and Jeter has gone Europe. So Jeter, we always knew that you were truly pro-Europe.
Yeah, for sure.
Talk me through why you think Europe.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. Interestingly, I pulled it up at in 2021, the US also did foursomes before four balls on the Friday, and they did win that one 3-1. So this has been the format for 2 straight Ryder Cups at least. I didn't make it back to whatever was before 2021. I think that was Le Golf National, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Whistling Straits and why am I blanking
Marco
on
Simone.
what we did? Yeah, Marco Simone. Both were foursomes before four balls, and I think that, like, for those who don't know, foursomes is, alternate shot as opposed to four balls, which is better ball. And I just think that lends itself a little bit more to Europe. Europe tends to be a bit more strategic in the way that they pick their pairings, and as opposed to it just be, oh, this person's friends with that person, or oh, this person does this, or these things will work out together. I think that it's in it, like, the Europe actually kind of picks people who lend to each other's strengths. They put them in the right spots so that if the course is playing dogleg right or left, Europe is taking all of this into consideration and putting its players in a position to succeed in a way that prior Ryder Cup captains have not for the US.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, Keegan might be thinking about this as someone who has espoused a love for the Ryder Cup, but I expect Europe to come out to a hot start. I think that Europe's team is very strong and will likely do well in this format.
Okay. Dizzy, you've gone for a half. Any particular reason?
I kind of echo everything Jeter said, but I also think that there's obviously a reason why they've gone for the foursomes first, and they obviously want to try and get off to a hot start themselves. And I'm not entirely convinced that the US team can go out and win in the foursomes because Europe are so strong in it, but there has to be a reason why they've gone for that way around. And whatever that reason is, and if it ends up paying off, I very much could see them getting halving that session and morning.
Yeah.
If they're playing well, as I say, it depends on what the logic is. I don't know. But if they play it right, then a half is very possible.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, I've gone for a half. I think my best guess at Keegan's logic is that whilst there is only one complete rookie on the European team, there are 3 more players who have never played a Ryder Cup in America before. I think if you know that foursomes are going to be a weakness, trying to make your weakness take place when maybe some people are feeling their way in, their nerves need settling. I think maybe it's almost going. If they can turn what would be a 3-1 into a 2-2 just because everybody's a bit jittery, with the very partisan crowd, then that would be my best guess. And I have a suspicion it might work, which is why I've gone for the half. So then we move on to Friday 4 balls. Let's see what we've gone for here. Okay, right. So now we're in the area of completely agreeing with each other. I mean, do either of you have anything that you specifically want to add that wasn't just implied by the previous answer? Like, is
No.
no? Dizzy, you happy?
No.
I guess the one thing that I'll bring up. Oh, sorry, Dizzy. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, but like, I think regardless of what happens in the morning, if Europe win, if it's a half, or if the US win, I think no matter what outcome in that afternoon, the US will come out swinging and probably win the four balls. That's just what I think would happen.
Don't disagree. Peter?
Yeah, the one thing that I was going to add was that I think that there will be some interesting choices for the US in foursomes. I think the big one that I wanted to mention that I forgot to was Bryson DeChambeau is a really tricky player to put in foursomes.
Mm-hmm.
As a result of the fact that he plays a very unique golf ball. And he's currently in the process of designing his own golf ball.
Mm-hmm.
Because for those who don't know, foursomes, the 2 players are playing the same golf ball. It's not even like if Z were to hit his first shot and then I were to hit my second shot, I can't drop my ball where his is and play the one that I want to play. So, with these 2 people playing the same golf ball, a lot of these players, it does really matter to them. They're very particular about the golf ball that they use for very specific reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the US might struggle. The only person who plays a golf ball even remotely close to Bryson is Cam Young. And I don't know if they're going to want to trot out Cam Young in the morning session of the first day. So the US might have like a weird, tricky situation on their hands where, in order to get one of, theoretically their better players, the guy who's really able to engage with a crowd and get people pumped up, will have to be playing with someone who this is his first time on the stage. And I think that could be tricky for foursomes, and that won't be an issue for 4 balls.
Fair, very fair. Other than that, though, I think we can move on. So, I mean, let's see whether we just repeat what we think happened for Friday with Saturday. We go Saturday foursomes. Interesting. Okay, so we just flip around. I mean, I'll say for me, I think for the same reason that I think Friday might be a half, because I think the players could be a little bit jittery. I'm pretty confident that Luke Donald will make sure that everybody gets a match on day 1 so that he can go into day 2 knowing who he can rely on, who seems to be good on the stage. I think the nerves will be gone, and I think Europe will benefit in their superior format. Dizzy, you've also gone Europe. Anything to add?
No, I don't think so. It's pretty much the same logic as you, really. I think whatever like for both of us, just going off, if what we've predicted comes true, they'll learn from whatever errors they've made on day one to make sure they win the foursomes in day two.
Yeah, very fair. G2, you on the other hand, interestingly, think that Europe will get worse, or that the US will get better at the second attempt, one or the other.
So I think Friday's going to be close. Like I'm expecting maybe somewhere between a 3-1 to a 2, like either a 3-1 or a 2.5, 1.5. I think would be my expectation for Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you get closer to a 2-2. Um, I've predicted it, but the reason why I think it gets closer is because you'll have more fans there. Obviously, you'll have fans there all 3 days. But it's a lot easier to get crowds out to an event when it's not a work day.
Mm-hmm.
And people will have taken time off, and it's the Ryder Cup, and like all of that stuff is great. But like it's just objectively easier to get people who are there, who are going to be more raucous, who are ready to roll, especially if it's a close Ryder Cup on the Saturday. I think you could see a really rowdy crowd on Saturday morning, and I think that that could make the difference between a potential deficit in foursome ability with this young US team, and giving them an extra day and having a little bit more crowd might make a difference. But what do I know?
Very fair. And then let's have a look at the four balls for Saturday. What about this? Do we change? Now we've gone all in separate directions. I mean, I've gone USA. I just think the USA are better at four balls. I I think that it basically means that they can ignore each other, not have to really play with much teamwork, and just do their own thing, and that suits the US down to the ground. Whereas I think Europe can be guilty of overthinking things sometimes. Uh, then we move into the middle, which is the half, which Dizzy's predicted. What's your logic?
I don't know. I've kind of gone with the same logic as for the foursomes. I wouldn't go as far as to think that Europe would win, but I think that they're quite good at figuring out problems, and they very much could manage to get out two pairs for the four balls that end up managing to grab a win.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's kind of a punt. I'm not that confident on it, but I went for it.
Yeah, that's fair. I will say, for listeners' benefit, in terms of scoring, because the half is much less likely, we have said that if you predict the right winner of a session, i.e. USA or Europe, you get 3 points. You get more points if you correctly pick a half, though. So, Dizzy taking a gamble on two halves could really help his points if it comes off. Jeter, on the other hand, after discussing why the US are so much better at four balls and Europe at foursomes, you've gone for Europe to win the Saturday four balls.
So this is an emotional hedge.
Okay.
I realistically, I think the US will struggle to win. I don't see. I guess the better way of putting it is I I think that I'd be bold to assume that the US is just going to come out here and dominate. I think this is one of the stronger European sides that we've seen. I would love for the US to win the four balls, and I think that they are better at it.
Mhm.
But I think that if there's a day where the US would struggle, I think when you're on your fourth set of 18 holes after a long day, um, I have a feeling that this could be the sort of session that looks like a banana peel where, they slip up and make a couple errors here on selecting players or something like that. And I do think that, I don't know, I looked at it and I kind of went, I could see Europe winning this session.
Fair enough. Okay, so now we move on to singles. Obviously very different from either of the other formats. Interesting. Okay, for this one, we seem to be being a little more partisan. I mean, Dizzy, you've gone for Europe. Why are Europe winning the singles?
Because I want them to. No, I think it's bound to be very, very close. Like I could see it being 9-7 either way. That's how I think it might go. I think a lot of it obviously can depend on who's facing who. But I don't know, like if Europe are managing to get off to a good start, maybe in the first like 4 matchups, and US might feel the pressure. Because I feel like if the tide is flipped and the US are leading like the first 4 matchups, I still think they'd feel the pressure, whilst Europe would be, the pressure wouldn't necessarily be on them. It would just be they've got to dig in. So I don't know. I think a lot of it would depend. Like my answer could well change if on the morning when I see the singles matchups. To be quite honest, but
Yeah,
I think no matter what, it'll be close.
I agree.
So I've just gone. I've gone for what I want.
Fair enough.
And possibly you've maybe slightly gone the same, but
Well, I think for me, I think Europe often do decently well at singles because I think they are more used to playing match play when they're growing up and going through the system. And so I tend to think they have slightly more experience at it. I also think I realize half a point doesn't seem like a big thing, but whatever the score is at the end of day 2, Europe know they only have to get to 14 points. America have to get to 14 and a half. And I do think just that slight difference can play tricks with your head, because all of a sudden people on the US team might be going, is a halved match enough here? Do I need to be going for the win? It can just create some little doubts in your mind. So I think for me, I often look to the side that's defending to have a slight advantage in singles. Jeter, you are back to full USA though. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think for me, to be honest, a lot of this comes down to I feel more comfortable picking American players in singles. The US over the last couple years has been much better than Europe over the last 4 Ryder Cups. The US halved at in 2023. They won 8-4 in 2021. They lost 2018, 7.5, 4.5, and then they won 7.5, 4.5 in Hazeltine. So I think like part of my thought as well was that you've got a lot of guys on the US team who have played college golf. And while they might not have been playing a lot of foursomes or 4-balls, I'm not super familiar with the collegiate system. I know that they do a lot of match play. And a lot of these players have had successful careers collegiately, which is increasingly common among American players on tour. And going through that, you do play matches. So the US more than ever before, I think, will have young players who have seen it a little bit. The flip side to that, which I said earlier, is that they haven't been in a Ryder Cup, so you don't know what you're going to get.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. I just have a gut feeling teams tend to win their home singles, and especially if there's a lot on the line, I think the US is going to need to, if not at least want to. So I'm expecting the US to probably win singles by at least a point.
Interesting. Okay, so next we move on to biggest win. So this is what is going to be the largest margin of victory in a single match. So obviously the the largest possible would be 10-8. So you would have to win all 10 of the first 10 holes, so that there's no point in playing the last 8 holes. So let's see what we have here. Okay, interesting. Jeter, you are on the low end for this one. You've gone 5-3.
Yeah, I mean, so last year there was one big blowout, which was Oberg and Hovland just destroying Scotty and Brooks in foursomes, and that was a 9-7. But other than that, the biggest was a 5-3, and in 2021, the largest I think was a 5-3 or a
Yeah.
4-3.
5-3.
Yeah, 5-3. So I'm playing the odds basically that I think 5-3 is like the most normal, realistic one that you see. And I don't think that this is a course that's particularly punitive to either team. So as opposed to guessing something that's out, really out there, I'm predicting that, if there isn't, this is what I think the most normal score would be,
Very,
like the largest winning score.
very fair. At the other end of the spectrum, I've gone for 7-6. I think my logic was that I kind of felt pretty confident that you two would probably go in around the 5-6 area, and rather than trying to debate over, oh, will it be 5-3 or 5-4, I figured I'd go bigger. I'd go for a 7-6. If it comes off perfect, I get the points all to myself. If it doesn't, oh well, never mind. It's a little bit of a strategic punt, this one. Next we move to halves. This is how many of the 28 individual matches will end as a half. Okay, very, very similar ideas. I mean, Dizzy, you and Jeter have both gone to 5. Why is 5 your number?
Just put anything, really, to be honest. I didn't really know.
I mean, fair enough.
I kind of just thought, well, I don't think it'll be too high. So I just thought 5 somewhere. I kind of was like 4, 5, 6, one of them. That was kind of my thought. That all felt like normal. So
Fair enough. You're taking the CAS approach to
yeah,
bad
I
psychics.
didn't even bother looking to see how many there were before. I didn't really.
In case you were wondering, last year there were 5, which is how
Wow.
I drew my number.
Okay, fair. And you're confident, Jeter, that this time will be similar?
If anything, I think it'll be lower. Historically, last year was relatively high. I also think that this golf course is more of an even test than some previous courses have been. I think these teams in recent years have, especially in Europe, been picking courses that really suit the European team and that, the American golfers would have never had a reason to go play. And I don't know that that's what Bethpage is, given it's a major venue, et cetera, et cetera. So there's no real ambush, but I think that it's a pretty fair course. I don't think, and with that in mind, I think it means that, you're more likely to see the best golfers in the world go out there and match each other blow for blow.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable perspective. I've gone for 6, which I recognise is quite high, But I think my logic is just, to me, it makes sense that if I think it's going to be a close Ryder Cup, then it stands to reason that there should be close matches within it, which should lead to halves. And if I'm expecting it to be closer than the last two, when there were 5 and 4, I have to go higher. So I did consider 7. I settled for 6. It does mean that I've price is righted the two of you if it's higher. But anyway, we'll go on to the most matches now. So this is how many matches will the person who plays the most matches play? You can also put a name alongside the number if you want to be specific about it, and that name will either halve or double your score depending on if you get it right. So let's have a look what everybody's done. Interesting. Okay. So Dizzy and I both saying that someone will play all 5, but not wanting to name who. Jeter, on the other hand, saying 4, but that it will be, or one of them will be Scheffler. I mean, Dizzy, let's come to you first. Why do you think that somebody will definitely play all 5 matches?
Well, I kind of looked at the European team and I thought it would make sense because they've got a couple in there that are so experienced in the Ryder Cup and they are going to want to use the experience. So someone like Rory or Justin to play all 5 when they both got a good record as well would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean it would happen, but or even someone like Tommy as well, who again has got a good record in the Ryder Cup. I thought that they were 3 that I kind of looked at, and I thought I could realistically see one of they 3 playing all 5.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I also 5. I, I think pretty routinely there's usually somebody who plays all 5 matches. It's not always necessarily easy to predict who. Like, quite often it can be that somebody just has a great morning session on Friday, and the captain is just like, well, you're having a stormer of a week. I just got to keep playing it. So I think that will happen with somebody. Jeter, though, you do not think that anybody will play all 5 matches.
So this was a bit of two things. One, I was hopeful that one of you might also say 4. Because if you did, then I would have been tied for second, which guaranteed me a point. And I feel very confident that Scotty will play at least 4. Therefore, I would have been able to double my points on what I felt like it was a very confident pick that Scotty would play at least 4.
Okay.
So I was like, if one of you two, game theory wise, if one of you two were to also put 4, first place gets points, the next closest gets points, I would have qualified for next closest, and Scotty almost certainly will play 4.
Makes sense.
Historically, someone does tend to play 5. From one, if not both teams. And I could see it happening this year. I didn't know who I would pick for that. And I don't know. I thought it'd be interesting to switch it up and go for it and try and gain points and play the odds a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly the last few years, there's always been a few people who have played 5, but we'll see. You could be right. Then we have fewest matches, which is exactly the same thing. How many matches will the least used player play? And again, you can put a name if you want to halve/double your score, depending on the outcome. Well, Okay, that does absolutely nothing to the score whatsoever. All of us going for two. I mean, Dizzy, did you have any thoughts at all on putting a name down and who it might be?
No, because I feel like I feel like that's tough to say. Like I kind of just thought. I mean, across the first 2 days, I feel like both captains are going to want to play everyone at least once.
Mhm.
And if someone doesn't in their first 2 days, it means that they've got quite a big disadvantage when it comes into the singles that they've just not played. I know that happened, I think it was in the last Solheim Cup, that someone didn't play until the singles.
Uh, Interesting.
But I just, but I just, I feel like I feel like doing that would be a mistake, personally,
Fair enough.
because and then I also think there could be several that could only, quite a few that could only play two. It depends on what happens in the first day, and
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the last Solheim Cup.
I think it was Lewin and Maguire, of what I remember.
Uh, Leona Maguire played two matches. She played a four ball and a singles. So,
Okay. Or maybe I'm wrong, but
uh,
I had a feeling that, but maybe.
yeah, I don't know. But I think there definitely is precedent for that. I think the most famous one is, as much as Europeans hate talking about it, the 1999 Ryder Cup at Brookline. Um, there were multiple players. I think captain was Mark James, and he only used 9 of the 12 European players in the first 4 sessions. And so Andrew Coulthard, Jarno Sandelin, and Jean van der Velde all came completely cold to the course on the Sunday, and all three lost. And it ended up being 14.5 to 13.5. So there is precedence, albeit not very attractive precedence. Gita, what about for you? Was there any thought of putting a specific name on this one?
I think it's tricky. There's a couple players on the US team that I'm just not sure how frequently they'll play.
Mhm.
There were a couple options on there that I'm like, going back to what I said, I don't know what Bryson will do on the foursomes. Equally, because the only other person who plays a golf ball similar to him is Cam Young, I think that really caps him at 3.
Mhm.
Um, if unless him and Bryson are really comfortable going out there playing with the same golf ball. And that gets tricky. And I considered that. I also like, he's a New York guy. He's probably grew up playing Bethpage Black fairly frequently, so he might be the sort of person who actually knows the course, and that sort of course knowledge can be really helpful.
Mhm.
So yeah, I didn't really want to risk putting a name because it could be any slew of guys, really, I feel like. And it felt a little bit tricky to nail down, which person won't have the hot hand.
Very fair. Next, we move on to hole in one. Will there be a hole in one at this year's Ryder Cup? Let's have a look. Interesting. Well, I mean, I've said yes. Um, I feel like we haven't seen one for a while, so I think I think we're due. Uh, and I just also Jeter tends to do a lot of odds playing with his, which is that it's going to be no more often than it is yes. So he tends to go that way, which means that I figure I'll go yes because at least I know I could pick up some points. Dizzy, you've said no. Any particular reason, or just a crapshoot for you?
I just think it's higher odds that it's going to be a no, to be honest.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and then it's just if it happens, then it's great, and if it doesn't happen, then it's also great because I've got points. So.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'd also just like to add that this course, the par threes, are really tricky. There's
mhm,
4 of them. Hole number 3 is 210 yards, and that's not the longest of the par threes. Plus there's bunkering in front. The longest is number 8, which is, or no, sorry, number 3 is playing 230 um this next weekend. 8 is playing 210 yards and also is a really tricky hole with a lot of elevation change,
mhm,
which is always tricky. And then the only one that I think I could realistically maybe see it happening on is number 14, which is the shortest hole in the course. It's going to be playing 161 yards because 17 is the most famous par 3. It's a teeny tiny green, and will have fans all around it because it's
Yeah.
a bit of an amphitheater based on where it is on the course.
Yeah.
I think that when you think about what you need to get a par 3, like I'm thinking about these guys are good, but those are long par 3s. It's hard to get spin, hard to get control when you're using those longer irons, and especially with large crowds watching them, perhaps even larger than many of them are used to, because there's just less golfers out there. It's really tricky to expect that it's going to happen.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I can't remember with Ryder Cup whether they're allowed to move the tee boxes around. So whether, some of these particularly long holes could play shorter if they decide to move the tee boxes up. But we'll see. Anyway, let's go to our overall winners. Do we think it will be Europe, US, or a half? My mouse would behave. There we go. Oh, um, why is mine gone into a weird font? Ah,
You've put it in USA font.
yeah. I don't understand how that's happened. Right, hang on.
Sorry again.
I'm surprised by that.
Right.
You maybe like just accidentally flicked it with your roller or something.
Yeah, possibly. Right, let's do this again. Okay, let's now move on to who we think is going to be our overall winners. Will it be a half? Will it be Europe? Or will it be the US? Let's see what we've all gone for. Oh, it's a straight line of USA's. Interesting. I mean, Jeter, I'm assuming in your case it's purely patriotism that you've answered with.
No, I think the home team tends to take the cup more often than they lose it. I think that both teams are very good, and I would not be surprised by Europe retaining the cup. Um, Obviously, part of it is that I'm rooting for this. But I think, yeah, I don't know. I think between home crowd really getting into it, um, and the U.S. having some really good golfers on the team, they might be able to squeak this one out. But I'm very fascinated that the session that has comfortably the most points, it makes up more than an entire day. Both of you have Europe winning, and yet you have the U.S. winning. I find that really interesting, and I don't know that I see. I don't know that I see the team winning singles, losing the cup.
Okay, interesting.
But
Uh,
that's not my bonus, so I can't. No
yeah.
points on that one for me.
Dizzy, any particular logic for you?
Um, I just think it's going to be very, very close, and I think maybe just when it gets down to like the final two singles, the crowd might end up being what's the difference.
Yeah.
That's what I'm feeling.
Yeah, I think.
And like, yeah, I mean, I've kind of, it's a little bit of hedging my bets. It's a little bit like I've kind of, in my predictions, I've kind of gone for both ways because I think both ways are very probable. But I have a feeling that this is USA's year.
Okay. Interesting.
Let's go.
I'm not
Hopefully,
that
it's also
patriotic.
my episode to finally win one.
I'm not that patriotic, so I'm like me.
Well, yeah, that's fair. I think for me, I mean, actually, right. I tell you what. Let's do the score predictions, and I'll explain my rationale. So, see what we've all gone for. Interesting. Okay. Very.
Even Price is righted here.
Yeah. I've been stopped squarely in the middle. I have only one outcome that allows me to get points. You.
No. I think you
Yes.
get points for second, even if someone gets it right. Right?
Oh, I see. Yes, I suppose. Okay, I can only get full points with one outcome. So here's my logic. I think across the two foursome sessions, I think Europe win 5-3. Across the two four-ball sessions, I think the US win something like 6.5, 1.5. I think they are going to dominate the four balls. And then I see the I see the singles being probably something akin to like 7-5, something like that. 6.5, 5.5, something in that vicinity. And I think despite Europe winning the singles, I see the US winning overall because I think the big difference is going to come down to the four balls, and I do see the US kicking ass. Dizzy, you have gone for the closest outcome. All of us, you are saying 14.5 to 13.5. What makes the difference for you?
Well, I kind of said it a minute ago. I do. Part of me just think that it might go down to the final few singles matches, and like you never know. It might even go down to the final singles match, and the score's 13.5, 13.5, and well, that would be something. But I've kind of got similar opinions that like I have a feeling that even though I put the Saturday four balls to be halved, I honestly think possibly the Friday four balls might be a blowout.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be if that was to happen, then 6-2, which isn't that far off your 6.5, 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think the same with the singles. I think Europe will sneak it, but it won't be a big margin of victory. And it's the same with the foursomes. I've got a half in Europe. I think it could be they sneak it. So it's a lot of it is similar logic to you. It's just I've gone that little bit closer. I think it might go down to the wire.
Yeah, could well be right. Jeter, you've gone for the biggest margin.
Yeah, which I don't feel like it's that big of a margin. I was considering going smaller. I'm glad I didn't because I think that this could I'm expecting a close Ryder Cup, but just because it's a close Ryder Cup doesn't mean the scoreline's close.
Hmm.
You know, I think that there might be a lot of matches that end 1-up, 2-up, 2-1, you know, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I historically, when doing Bad Psychics podcasts, like especially if I'm doing like a knockout tournament for soccer or something like that, I've tried to predict everything. You know, I've gone through and I've said, well, I think this score for this one, this score for this one, and that gives me my magic final number. And then when one of my predictions blows up in my face, I'm screwed. Because all of my other all of my other predictions are connected. So this one was just like I think that the winning score will be this. I've picked a bunch of sessions. My session math might not actually turn into a feasible score that I think is possible that I've just picked here. You know, like the US, as you guys have said, would need to dominate those Friday four balls. And I've predicted a big US singles win here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also a case of like, if I'm wrong on a couple sessions, I do think this score line, if not bigger, which now I'm really happy about, I think the US will end up winning somewhat comfortably. I don't think that this is going to come down to the final putt.
Okay. Interesting. Right, let's move on to the bonus questions now. See whether we've gone for the likely or the batshit insane. Okay, interesting. I mean, Dizzy, you've gone for like the extreme version of something I was considering. Because I was considering saying that a rookie would have an unbeaten record, i.e., you know, if they played 4 matches and they won 2 and halved 2, that would be acceptable. You've gone that they will have a 100% winning percentage. So I am just double checking that is
Yeah.
definitively what you're saying. It
Yeah, I went for
halves.
something risky.
Okay. Right then. So we've got 4 rookies. 4 rookies, 5 rookies.
Yeah, 5.
Um, we've got 4 on the American team. We've got 1 on the on the European team. I think, do any of them jump out to me as like JJ Spawn? I think blows hot and cold. I don't see him going unbeaten. Ben Griffin, possibly. Cam Young and Russell Henley, possibly, but also I don't know who you pair them with because they're both quite eccentric types of players in their own different way. Rasmus Højgaard, do I see him going unbeaten? Probably not.
If I was going to put an odds percentage on this, I'd probably put something between like 25% to 33%, like somewhere between a quarter and a half or a quarter and a third of the time. I'd expect this to happen.
Really? For them to win all of their matches?
Well, I think that there's a chance that someone wins 3 matches.
I
You know, like just because, you know, let's take for example, Cam Young plays 2 matches, plays 2 foursomes with Bryson, wins both of them mostly because, you know, Bryson was playing well, or you know, you play someone on one of the Friday 4 ball, you know, one of the Friday sessions, they get a win where you're with another partner, and maybe the other part, maybe they didn't actually play all that well. Their partner was just on one. So they don't play again on Saturday, or they play once on Saturday, and then they win their singles match. I could see it.
mean, I
Rookies will be on a short leash. I'd say, okay, maybe not a third. I think 20 to 25% of the time. Like I'd probably, you know, I think that this is risky. I could see it happening though in a way that like we've had some bonuses where I go, not a chance.
I mean, I'm I'm having a
I'm
look.
thinking on an offer, like a high offer, maybe like a 9-9 or an 8-8.
Wow, that's a lot lower than I was thinking. A lot lower. Um, I'm just, yeah. I mean, there have only been two people to win all of their matches in the last three Ryder Cups. DJ did it at Whistling. Molinari did it at Golf National, and that was when he was in his like really strong period. I don't know when the last time a rookie won all of their matches was. Like your the points offer you're thinking of, to me, I think is almost, if Dizzy had said would go unbeaten, I think we're roughly in that 8-9 area. Um, like I think. Oh, I'm trying to see if I can find like some records about who have like won.
Well, Homa almost did it in 23.
Yes, but that's almost like,
I mean, he was very close.
find me an example of a rookie going unbeaten, because I'm.
Doesn't like highlight who the rookies are on the team, which is really annoying.
I mean, you're just looking for somebody who has a blank 0-0 under the records, and then you check. But um, I I'm unlikely to be swayed that this isn't a much higher value unless we find one like multiple. Who's the? Uh, he needs checking. Okay, had he played before? Uh,
So Ludwig last year went 4 matches, 2 wins, 2 halves.
yeah,
He was a rookie.
that's what I'm saying though. Dizzy's not
Straka
saying.
did it as well, and Straka's only loss was 2 up to Justin Thomas.
Yeah, I recognize
Wait.
that people get close, but we're not talking about people getting close. We're talking about people managing it. Like,
Oh, so sorry. Actually, the person who was closest last year was McIntyre. He played 3 matches. McIntyre won 2-1 over Wyndham. McIntyre won 3-2 in 4 balls. 3-2 over Spieth and Thomas, and the only one that he halved was McIntyre and Rose against Homa and Clark when Homa was having, the only good tournament. There's a world where McIntyre could have done this last year.
Right.
I understand your point that just because it almost happened doesn't necessarily mean that it did happen. Who knows when, there's a difference there. But he was not far off.
I recognize that he's not far off, but I've been, whilst you've been talking, I've been blowing my way through. I'm as far as back as 2008, and nobody's done it. Like, and I wouldn't say we have the strongest batch of rookies that we've ever had.
Henley's pretty good.
I I I rate Henley highly. I'm not saying that they're bad at all. I'm merely saying that I don't, it's not like we have a McIntyre and Oberg like we had last time, that sort of everybody recognized are going to be great major winning golfers in the future. Henley's a bit more. He's a very good player, but he's very streaky and has been for years. Uh like I really don't see this happening. I'm just trying to. Yeah, I'm now at 2006. Still hasn't happened. Let's have a look at 2004. Uh, there's not anybody. Like some of these, there's not even any players that win all their matches, let alone a rookie that does it. None in 2002. I don't believe there's any in 2009. Yeah, sorry, 1999. Yeah, we're back as far as 1999 already, and it's never been done.
Okay. I had a feeling that this was going to be more likely than that. Given the specifics of this Ryder Cup, but if you don't think that that's going to happen, then I'm happy to give a higher offer.
Yeah, like I mean, I
What, like 12-12?
well, here's the thing. I was gonna say I genuinely was. Oh, hello. Hang on. I'm double checking, but I might have found the last time. Nope, haven't. They played once before. So that's 97. Um, I was for me. I was thinking about 15. Like that's how unlikely I think it is. If you're not comfortable with that, I'm happy to nudge it down a little bit.
Well, I also, how I like this is getting into, the general offering stuff. 15 up, 15 down for something this risky. 15 down is half the points that are at up to gain here.
Yeah, which it would just mean that the the lower offer would be considerably more generous in terms of comfort.
Okay, then let's do that.
Okay,
I'm fine with a 15-15 and like a
I was going to say a 15-15 and something like a 7-4.
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, okay, right. Busy. How much of a gambler are you looking to be? Would you like 15 up, 15 down, or 7 up, 4 down?
I'm going for the lower offer because I don't think it's going to happen personally. But
Okay, fair enough.
I thought I'd go for something that might cause a 10-minute debate.
I mean, you definitely succeeded. Jeter, you have gone for both teams will have led at the end of a session. So I'm taking that to mean that the at the end of each of the 5 sessions of play, both teams will have led at that point at least once.
Yeah, of the last 4 Ryder Cups, the only time this happened was 2018, where the US took a 3-1 lead, but then lost the Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think that this is more likely than prior Ryder Cups, as we've discussed. We think that this is going to be, a cup where things go back and forth. But yeah, basically just that at the end of the 5 sessions, including the final score, that both teams will have had at least a half-point lead over the other team.
Okay. Fine. And just to clarify, because if it's a tie, Europe win. Are we including that for? Okay, so it has to be an outright lead of a half-point plus.
Yep.
Okay, fine. I think that this is less likely than likely, but not by like a mega amount. Like I can definitely see the universe where Europe win the foursomes, like 2.5, 1.5, and then the US clean sweep the next session, and Jeter's automatically won. Like, I definitely see. I think this is one where if it hasn't happened after 2 sessions, it probably isn't going to happen. I think
If it hasn't happened after 2 sessions, someone needs a Medina.
yes. So I think I have this at about, I'm gonna say 7 and 7 for me. Would be my idea of a high offer, and I think I'd probably offer 3 and 3 as a lower offer. Dizzy, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, so then Jeter 7-7-3-3.
I think that this will. I think that this is possible. I don't know that I'd go as far as probable.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't love. I'm trying not to ground myself on the fact that Dizzy has a 7-4. Because obviously we're talking about different things.
Yeah.
Let's be sensible. Let's go 3-3.
Okay, fine. And then finally mine. I have said that Fleetwood and Cantlay will face off at least once. So my logic here is Cantlay has the best points winning record percentage wise of the American team, and Fleetwood has the second best behind only Bob McIntyre, but Bob McIntyre has only played one Ryder Cup. So I view Fleetwood and Cantlay as like the linchpins of their respective sides. In terms of performance, obviously Cantlay not in terms of personality. Um, so I think that they may well end up getting smushed together in some sort of matchup uh, across the 3 days, but maybe not. There's only so many chances for it to happen. So I'll let you two discuss.
Uh, hmm. I think it's possible. As you've said, you've outlined all of the reasons. I think this is probably about as likely, if not a little bit more likely, than what I've predicted. I don't know if you agree, Dizzy, but I think that like the odds of this happening are slightly more likely than what I've predicted.
I'd say there's maybe a 35% chance.
Yeah. Which makes me think that I want to go, as we've kind of established, if we think something's a 50-50, the high offer is a 5-5. So I think this high offer is a 6-6. And then low offer in my head, I'm thinking either a 3-3 or a 2-2. I don't know what you think, Dizzy.
I think that's fine.
Any preference on 3-3 or 2-2?
Probably 2-2 because just one down on both offers from yours would make sense.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. Z, 6-6 or 2-2?
I'm taking the 6-6. I think for me, I think there's a reasonable chance of this happening. So I think taking something that's I kind of view it as roughly a 50-50. So I'll take something that's better for me than a 50-50. I also think the low offer doesn't really have much going for it for me. So yeah, I think I'll take 6-6 and hope for the best. But yeah, okay. That's our predictions for the Ryder Cup. Uh, Hopefully, as you're viewing this, I'm hoping that this should be out Thursday next. Hopefully the Thursday before the Ryder Cup is my aim. I mean, any last thoughts, Dizzy, before we leave?
Um, up the hippies. That's
Interesting.
my thought.
Okay, completely wrong sport, but I appreciate the thought. Jeter, any final Ryder Cup thoughts?
No, I feel like we've covered it. I'm hoping that I love the Ryder Cup. I love match play. As I've said, I wish that they bring back the match play championship on the tour. I'm excited to watch this. I think it's going to be a really good event. I love Bethpage as the venue. I'm wearing the shirt from when I went in 2019. I'm really excited to see how it looks, not set up for a major, but set up for the Ryder Cup instead. So I think this will be really awesome, and keeping my fingers crossed that my predictions get me a win.
Yeah, I mean, we may be hoping for different outcomes, but I think we can all agree on the main thing, which is that people loudly shouting "in the hole" is incredibly helpful and valuable to the spectacle of golf.
Ababooey!
Mashed potatoes. Anyway, let's end it there. We will be back with a new episode very soon when there's something to predict. But until we meet again, remember to always be big mystics, not big mistakes. Goodbye.